Welcome to my channel. Sergio from SurgeFit, weight loss and personal training. And today we're going to talk about 4 tips on how to build muscle naturally. 4 training tips. All right, we're going to get right into it. So starting off, this is for people who train naturally, don't take any supplements. You could be a beginner, intermediate, or advanced person. But I'm going to give you guys a couple of different tips that are going to help you in your training routine. So to start off, key number 1 is going to be having to train with compound movements, okay? Implementing compound movements into your training work routine and your training schedule. Now the compound movements, maybe you've seen before, is basic. All our movements such as deadlifts, bench press, squats, pull-ups, dips, movements that use multiple body parts or multiple muscles at one time. An isolation movement is going to be just a curl, while a compound movement is going to be a whole pull-up where you're integrating multiple muscles at one time. Why are we going to use compound movements, or why are they that important? The compound movements are going to stimulate and activate these anabolic hormones naturally, okay? So that you don't necessarily have to go and take these supplements. So these movements, 1, they're going to integrate and use multiple muscles at one time. So you're going to not only just hit one muscle, but you can hit 4, 5, 6 different muscles. And then 2, they're also going to stimulate these natural anabolic hormones, such as growth hormone and testosterone. And they're going to stimulate those naturally. All right. So using these exercises in your routine is going to be pivotal. If you're doing a 4-day split routine, or if you're training 3 days a week, wherever you're starting at, or maybe you're training 5 days a week, I would suggest implementing at least 1 compound exercise per training routine. All right. That's a minimum. I like to do personally 2 to 3 different types of movements. This also goes for if you're just training with body weight. You can pack on muscle with body weight training and calisthenics, but you're going to be using nothing but compound exercises in terms of pull-ups, dips, push-ups, and different squat and lunge variations. All right, so the compound movements are excellent for that. Another great tip with the compound movements is doing them after your warm-up in the beginning of your routine, because it's going to completely activate all these muscles. It's going to get your body pumping, and it's going to get this adrenaline going within your body that you're going to feel pretty jacked up. And I really feel from my experience that you're going to increase the pump towards the end of your workout if you start with the compound movements. So make sure that you're implementing compound movements in your training routine, especially if you're a natural guy like me and you're just getting all your nutrients from foods and that's your main supplementation. All right, so that's number 1, compound movements. Number 2 is going to be training for hypertrophy. All right, training for hypertrophy means a lot of high volume. High volume, what I mean by that is a lot of sets and a lot of reps per each exercise. So the key with doing the repetitions for hypertrophy is you want to be in that rep range to where you're 10 to 12 to 15 reps per exercise, okay, or per set, I should say. And the key here is that you're using a weight that's going to make you struggle for that amount of weight, for that amount of reps. So normally, the percentage of weight that you're going to want to use for that 10, 12 rep range, even 15 rep range, is going to be about 65 to 70% of your max, like 60 to 70% of your max range, okay? If you're a beginner, or if you don't know your max on a certain exercise, like a lat pull down or a press, you can find your 1 rep max. If you want to be like super scientific about it and break it down, find your 1 rep max and then do the mathematical percentage to figure out what 60 or 70% of is that, and then start banging out 10, 12, 15 reps of that. It's going to be a struggle, and it's going to be a great burn. You're going to feel a good pump. Otherwise, you can just feel it out. Just get into a routine to where you try a couple of the exercises and see what feels good for 10 reps or 12 reps or even 15 reps. See what feels good but really makes you struggle to where you don't break form. All right? So that's going to be very important. The hypertrophy training a rep range is going to be between 10 and 12 reps generally, and sometimes 15 to 20 reps as you're starting to shock your body and change the variety in your exercise depending on your experience. Now, another part to that is that with the hypertrophy training, you want to rest 60 to 90 seconds rest, okay? Just that short window, and then get right back into the next set. And this is going to be an excellent way to really stimulate growth hormone while you're training like that, all right? And it's also going to be filling up your muscles with so much blood and the musculature to really increase the blood flow into those cells to help them expand and tear them down for you later on to go replenish with the proper foods, which we'll talk about in another video. So that's going to be very important. Make sure that your reps are on point. You're using a weight that challenges you for those reps, and then you're taking the proper break between exercises, okay, or between sets, I should say, 60 to 90 seconds to allow your body to recover a little bit, but not too much to where you're still increasing the blood flow into the musculature and expanding those muscles into those cells, all right? Also, with the hypertrophy training, you want to do, depending on your experience, 3 to 6 sets, and that can go even beyond that if you're getting into some German volume training or different styles of training. If you're a beginner, just start at 2 sets. But the groove spot is when you start to get in a 3 to 6 set range to really increase the volume, in the area that you're targeting, okay? And that's gonna just force your muscles to expand, to break down, and then eventually expand and grow, and really increase the blood flow in that area. All right, so 3 to 6 sets is the groove spot, and generally start at a certain amount of sets, and every few weeks, we'll talk about that later on in the video, you want to progress so you don't get caught with the adaptation from your body, so you can keep changing it up and shock the body. So that's going to be very important as well. All right, number 2, that is the hypertrophy training. Number 3 is going to be making sure that you hit specific body parts at least 2 days a week. And naturally, I've even seen better results going 3 days a week sometimes, as long as you're getting enough rest. And the thing is that when you hit the muscles 2-3 times a week, and sometimes just lightly touching them, even sometimes 4 times a week, just touching them to stimulate them, you're gonna increase the protein synthesis in these areas, okay? And that's gonna help obviously more protein synthesis in the area. As long as you're replenishing your body with the proper foods, you're gonna force that area to grow and expand, okay? And you're gonna continue to break down that musculature and keep it stimulated so the blood flow is increasing into that area, and it's also always staying activated. So if you're training back, or you're training specific back muscles like the lats or the biceps, if you split them up to where you're hitting them like a Monday and a Friday, that's great. It gives them enough time to rest. And if you're more advanced in the training and you've been doing this for years, you could even start doing a Monday, a Wednesday, and a Friday, and then getting plenty of rest, okay? Or you could split it up a Monday, a Thursday, and a Saturday to even get a little bit more rest. But where you're at least hitting it intensity-wise in the middle of the weeks, a little bit higher intensity, and maybe just a very light touch, 2 to 3 sets, just a nice light weight on the Saturday or the last part of your week. So hitting those muscles more frequently is going to increase more protein synthesis. And you'll see this with body weight training and calisthenics, where you guys gymnasts are training 5-6 days a week, the same type of exercises, but they're changing up the variety a little bit with maybe some more static hold stuff that's going to stimulate a lot of blood flow, or high repetition or more explosive stuff. So it's different forms of intensity, but at the same time, they're still doing similar exercises, and you'll see the bodies that they develop, although they are staying very lean, they're packing on a lot of muscle for their body weight. All right, so that's going to be very important as well, making sure that you hit the body weight, the exercises, at least 2 to 3 times per week, specifically each muscle, okay? Then we're going to talk about on the 4th exercise, the 4th point to this is also making sure, as I look at my notes here, that we work on progressive overload. All right, this is step 4. So progressive overload is, now that you're doing these specific exercises, whatever your split routine is, if you're working 4 days per week, or you're doing a 3-day split or a 5-day split, whatever your workout routine is set, you want to make sure that every 4 to 6 weeks with that exercise, you're increasing the weights, okay? Weekly, you should be increasing weights until you can't anymore, and then you want to control that weight to where you're doing the proper form with that amount of repetitions, and then go up from there. But every 4 to 6 weeks, you also want to change up the routine. You want to start implementing different exercises that hit those muscles, okay? Exactly the same area, but maybe a different exercise, or maybe tweaking the angle of that exercise, or also switching up the tempo of the exercise. If you're just doing a normal in and out tempo here for just 2 seconds, maybe doing some static holds where you're really increasing the blood flow and you're shocking the muscle, what it's not used to. All right, this is going to help really switch up the muscle and force your body to adapt to something new. Because after 4 to 6 weeks, and depending on how intense the training routine is, maybe even 8 weeks, your body's going to adapt at some point. The body's an unbelievable mechanism. But the key is that progressively you continue to add weight each week or bi-weekly as you start to hit your plateaus and your strength. And then at a 4, 6 week or even an 8 week point, you want to switch up the exercises completely or start switching up the tempos and the intensity of the training. So the progressive overload is also going to be very, very important in your routine. Now, let's talk about the split just a little bit. There's a couple different ways to play this. Along with the progressive overload routine, if you're just starting out, and let's say you're someone who hasn't trained a lot before, okay, maybe you've just messed around a little bit with some weights, but you don't have many years under your belt with lifting weights and changing your body. If you started off with a 3-day split, a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, all right, and you're working on, you do the compound exercises, and then you do 3 to 4 different hypertrophy exercises specified for the body part, and then you repeat this for Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So basically you're doing a full body style of training. If you do that for 4 to 6 weeks, then another part of the progressive overload is to totally switch up your split routine. So then you can go to a 4-day-a-week routine, all right? And then start breaking down each day with 2 body parts, 2 body parts, 2 body parts, 2 body parts. Now, if you're a guy who's been working out 4 or 5 days a week, you can change up another part of the progressive overload besides adding weight is also changing up your split routine. So if you've been doing 4 days a week for the last 10 years and you're kind of at a plateau, it's time to change. You might be someone who is not getting enough rest and working too much. So you might need to cut your days down and just train more intense in a 3-day period. Or you might need to take it to the next level and go 5 days or even start doing 2-a-days twice a week. So you got to understand where you are at this moment, and then you need to force your body to adapt to more stress that you're going to apply to it, okay? Depending on if it's going to be new exercises, a little bit more weight in the exercises, the tempo of the exercise, or changing up the frequency of how many days you work out. I like to progress to where if you're going to do a 3-day-a-week routine, train full body, okay? Mostly compound movements, and then isolate specific areas like the arms or the chest or specific parts in your delts, areas that you want to accentuate for aesthetic purposes. Hit those hard 3 days a week and then rest. Do that for 3 to 4 weeks. Then get into the 4-day split and split it up into 2 body part exercises, okay? Do that for 4 weeks and then take it to another level where you're training 5 days a week, all right? And you're focusing on another body part 3 times. But you can see the consistent progress in the routine is what I'm emphasizing. There's a lot of different ways you can set up the split. All right, I'm not going to sit here and say this is the best way ever. You got to know specifically where you're at. I'd have to sit down and talk with you and see what you've been doing. But the main thing is that you're continuously progressing your weight, you're continuously progressing your program, and you're changing up to where your body is forced to adapt to the stress that you're putting onto it, and it's going to make it stronger and for sure pack on muscle. Those are the 4 tips I wanted to give you guys today, but this is the last tip, and this is going to be a very, very important tip. You're training intensely, all right? You're eating good. You have to sleep. You have to rest, all right? There's a lot of stress out there in the world with work and family and just things going on. You have to find time to make sure that you're getting your sleep. When you sleep, you're going to lower your cortisol levels. Cortisol is a stress hormone. It's activated throughout the day. It's activated when you're stressed. And when your cortisol levels are high, your insulin levels get out of balance. You start to pack on weight in your stomach. You also have that belly. So if you're not getting 7 to 8 hours of sleep on a similar schedule all the time, you're not going to get the proper amount of replenish and rebuilding that your body does when it hits REM sleep, okay? Which REM comes in about 2 hours into your sleep, and it's in a deep, deep sleep. Another thing when you're sleeping, growth hormone is released at this time. So growth hormone is an excellent anabolic hormone naturally that is going to help you pack on muscle, replenish your body, make you feel young, and it's also a beneficial sexual hormone. So for youth, vitality, which everybody wants that. So make sure on this 5th tip, you are getting sleep and getting rest if you want to pack on muscle, okay? So these are just some 5 tips I wanted to give you guys today that I know for a fact will help you if you implement them into your training routine. And I'm talking to guys who want to train naturally, all right? You're not, enslaved by these supplements and stuff. You can get it in, train hard, train smart, get your rest, and eat right, and I guarantee you'll still pack on muscle. and you're gonna feel better, and you're gonna feel like you got a lot of vitality, a lot of energy, and just mentally feel great. So guys, if you got any questions, please comment below and let me know some of the splits and different routines that you've been doing to help you build muscle, or some struggles that you've had. Any questions, I'd love to help you out. And I'll be back with you guys soon. Check out my video, and we talk about what foods to eat to help you pack on muscle naturally as well. You guys have a great day. Talk to you soon.